Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be featuring what was essentially the first Tier 8 American premium that they added to the game, the USS Alabama. I think I last featured this thing like in a proper commentary, I think about 3 years ago. So it's been a while since we've seen this ship around. And Alabama is a gorgeous ship, and I do have a fair share of requests. Now, one thing, I do have the pleasure of giving away a Mainz, a Tier 8 German premium cruiser. What you need to do is type Mainz giveaway, your in-game name, and what server you play on in the comments. And of course, you need to be subscribed to the channel, otherwise the filter is going to skip you. You can check my pinned comment, there's an example template of what you need to fill in. You just copy that, of course, with your own name and server and so forth, and you are taking part in the giveaway. May the luckiest potato win. Moving on, Alabama, very much, shell tracking in replays is still quite glitchy. That's a bit unfortunate. Alabama is essentially a North Carolina. It plays very similarly. And there are some slight differences, namely the Alabama actually handles better. The Alabama has a significantly... Alabama handles better and it has a significantly better torpedo belt. But on the other hand, it does have slightly worse Sigma, 1.9 versus North Carolina's 2.0. Wow, shell tracking really is really glitchy in this. That's unfortunate. Obviously I'm taking pot shots at the Albemarle. Now my positioning is something this position is something I really love taking, and that is a central position. The Alabama has a good firing range with 21.1 kilometers with a spotter plane to increase it, and obviously I want to make use of this as much as possible. And you will see me play fairly central positions. Well, I pretty much always play central positions in my battleships because I love them. It allows me to shoot at multiple different targets, and as long as you pay attention to the minimap and pay attention to your angling, you will rarely eat too much damage. I mean, it requires constant attention to the minimap, but when you play battleship, you should be paying constant attention to the minimap regardless, because the battleship has the advantage of having a fairly long reload, usually about 30 seconds. So what you do is you pull the trigger, you shoot, and then between shots, you look at the minimap, what's going on. Albemarle is a bigger threat, we see the Dallas on the flank, no one's really pushing, we're safe, and then we start scanning for the next target again. So there's no reason not to be paying attention to the minimap and having an awareness of what's going on the map, especially if you're playing battleship. Because, well, the biggest issue is people tend to be tunnel vision. They sit zoomed in for too long. Now, Alabama, like the NC, has very slow AP. I think it's like 700 meters per second AP, which means that it takes some time getting used to the guns. You have to lead a lot, and the more you play, the more comfortable you'll get to them. But if you do lead well, the guns are somewhat rewarding. I don't think they're as rewarding as NC. NC is in fact one of my favorite battleships in the game, because I think it's the pinnacle of battleship design. Hard to aim, or hard to hit with, but if you do hit, it's very rewarding. Tanky when angled, but very squishy when broadside. Now Alabama, just like the NC, used to be a lot tankier, then they lowered the American battleship Citadels, and now not so much. Alabama does have 38mm deck armor, so somewhat resistant to HE spam, but bow and stern is 32, and it does have a waterline Citadel, but that doesn't mean you want to be giving too much broadside regardless, because even if you're not being Citadeled, you're still going to be eating significant penetration damage. And of course, American BBs tend to have a very large superstructure, and in this game that is a big weakness, because AP shells get to arm on this, and it's a good target for HE spam. So in this case, seeing as this Bismarck might be pushing in, and seeing as this flank, there might be some crossfires coming in from the flank where our Skåne is, that is the western flank, I angle away from them. I want to keep my guns on the Bismarck, but I also want to be ready to disengage if the push becomes too hard. Also, I want to be able to turn my guns and support this flank in case the Richelieu pushes in through the gap in front of me. But I don't want to leave this position. Central positions, especially in this case, I'm top tiering a tier 8 battleship. I want to exert as much map presence, as much pressure on the map as I can. And this is something battleship players often struggle with as well. The reason battleships are feared is their ability to basically one-shot any ship on the map. If you sail that battleship, look at my North Carolina, for example. He's sailing on the 9 line. He's putting huge islands between him and his enemies. What exactly is he zoning out from his position? Well, he's zoning out any ships that are on the 9 and 10 line. Those are the only guys that have to worry about him. No one else really has to care about him, because he's put himself so completely out of the battle. Whereas my central position means that, well, I can be supporting my NC, I can kill the Bismarck in the center than I did, and if the enemy team tries to push up this flank, well, I can support the flank as well. Central positions give you more options to help your team. Now, these positions become significantly more risky if you're up-tiered yourself, but if you are the top-tier battleship in basically any battle, you're kind of the top dog. You're the guy with the scariest guns and the tankiest armor, and you're the one everyone else kind of has to be afraid of. So in this case, once again, you can see how central my position is all the time. You can see, just look at how many ships are within my gun arcs, or within my gun range. This is how I love playing battleships. Once again, it's a standard battle. We don't need to be pushing too aggressively anywhere. In fact, I think standard battle as a design is inherently flawed, because the best way to win a standard battle is literally to defend your own base and wait until the enemy makes a mistake. It's kind of like ranked in that sense. The best way to win is to let the enemy make an idiot out of themselves. So we keep our central position, having a bit unfortunate volleys on this Dallas. But then again, Dallas Citadel is notoriously small. I am hoping to get rid of him because my Shokaku is not reacting at all. My Shokaku is basically snoozing, and I think the enemy team is realizing this, and they're smelling blood in the water. Getting rid of a tier 8 carrier in tier 8 matchmaking is incredibly strong, because that is by far the strongest carry. At this point, I'm waiting for the planes to spot the Dallas so I can get rid of him, because we do really desperately need to kill these guys, because they guaranteed know that my Shokaku is very vulnerable right now. I shoot the full volley because I really want to get rid of him. The Shokaku sails all his planes into the Dallas flak and loses them, but the vision was all I needed, and I kill him off, which means that they should not have vision of my carrier, and he should be able to disengage. I'm keeping my guns pointed in the general direction though. Note that my turret traverse is actually very fast, and this is something that has changed, and this has changed with the upgrades. Namely, well, they made the AA upgrade so pointless, and they buffed the turret traverse upgrade. In the past, if you ran the turret traverse upgrade, it actually cost you a fair amount of reload, but these days you can run it with no downside. So I'm actually running that on my Alabama as well as Expert Marksman. And this combined gives me a 180-degree turn time of 29.1 seconds. So very, very fast. In fact, almost cruiser turret traverse. And this is what I'm using here. Vladivostok is pushing up the flank. I don't want to end up being too vulnerable, so we reverse a bit. Keeping our guns on him, of course, and being able to support their team at fairly close range. But just making sure I don't get crossfired too badly. I'm reversing away. Once again, standard battle. We have a points lead. There is absolutely no need to play aggressive. Especially something you see very often is lower tier ships playing aggressive. The NC who pushed down the flank, well, he got killed by a Richelieu, and now my Mainz is all alone on that flank. He is close range though, so I'm hoping he'll get some torps in. I shoot one volley and the Vladivostok angles against it. However, I see that my Ismail has decided to rush. He's gonna go in. Now, if you see one of your teammates go in, even if you think it's a really poor idea, like I do here, capitalize on it. In this case, him pushing in, the Mainz pushing in is very dangerous because he's giving broadside to the NC and Arizona. He might get deleted, but he's forcing the Vladivostok to turn broadside towards him. And I'm capitalizing on that by pushing in and creating a crossfire. And this is also another thing. If you see a teammate push in, don't push in after him. Push in at an angle. But like this, I create a crossfire. He angles against Ismail, I get the broadside of him, while at the same time keeping the island between me and the rest of the ships. He does get deleted by the NC. That was of course the downside of that push. He puts himself into a crossfire, but he has given me a very, very juicy shot, forcing the NC, the Vladivostok to turn against him, and with 3 citadels at this close range, Alabama guns are devastating. And of course, the Russian cruisers, even though they are extremely tanky, if they give full broadside at that range, you can get some very hard-hitting volleys in. We secure the kill. We're still a kill up. We still have the points advantage. My team is playing very aggressive, but there is another problem brewing in the north. My Shikaku, who's been kind of throwing away planes, well, he is in some serious trouble by Budionni actually chasing him. The other issue is we have an NC pushing in, and we have an Arizona pushing in. Once again, I ping my Bismarck to get back. There's no reason for him to push in right now. This Budionni is mispositioned. He is overextended. He's in our base. Everyone needs to just turn his guns and get rid of him. Always focus down single targets. I turn my guns and I start taking pot shots at him. I think I underestimate his speed a bit, especially as this was already when the desync was being quite bad, so we're getting 0 hits. Need to take a significantly bigger lead if I want to blap him. At this point though, sailing away from the NC, sailing away from the Arizona is a good move, and closing the distance with the Sloan target is a good move. It still keeps me in the central position, but it also closes the distance with the Budionni, which makes it harder for him to dodge my shells. I think the torpedoes will finish him off, but I take the shot just in case. He dies, and now it's time to start fighting the NC. We have a significant lead, 5 ships to 3, but that does not last long. The Mainz instantly goes down, and the enemy Shikaku is actually getting kills, whereas my Shikaku has been struggling to do the same. I turn my guns, but the NC is already angled. Now note that the NC and the Alabama both have the issue that if you shoot underneath turrets and they're not fully angled, because of the way the nose is shaped, you can get penetration damage. But the way he was angled, it was kind of unlikely. I went for it anyway, I got 2 pens, some damage, but overall, at this point, I'm just making sure I don't get crossfired by Arizona. I'm angling against the NC, and I'm gonna start blapping the Arizona. In case if the NC tries to push, I should be able to get his broadside. He's reversing away, I think he realizes this, so I'm slowing down. There's no reason to kite any further. Once again, the Alabama doesn't really want to brawl, even though it has a good torpedo belt, but you don't want to go too far either. Mid-range is the optimal Alabama range. They are focusing down my Bismarck though, so I'm pinging him to get back. I'm slowing down, I'm not going full speed. In fact, in this point, I decide to full stop, just so I can shoot down the planes, and just so I can help zone them out from my Bismarck, who needs to be running full speed. I shoot down the planes, and I start blapping the Arizona. Ideally, my Bismarck should stop firing at this point, and just run for his life. Dispersion trolls me a bit. Bismarck is running, however, and right now this situation looks pretty good. As long as he keeps running with 10k health, he should have no issues running, and Skåne should be able to torp these ships quite easily. However, Skåne decides that, well, shooting is the best call. Not exactly sure why, because there's still 6 minutes of this game remaining, and that's exactly the worst thing he could have done. I am reversing towards them to try to zone them out from my Bismarck as much as possible, but at this point it turns out Bismarck has decided to turn around and push right back into them. I keep pinging him to get back because there's absolutely no point in that move. There's no benefit. I have plenty of health. I have all this healing. I can easily zone them out. Let me take the fight, and then he can take pot shots as I'm taking the fight. But sadly, you cannot control your teammates, and he decides that the best move at this point is to rush in. And my Skåne, of course, well, shooting with 2 battleships in close range means that they obviously focus him down and he gets killed off. Now we're starting to be in some serious trouble. Once again, focus firing the torpedo planes. Not too worried, the torpedo belt on this thing is immense. In fact, I slow down a bit to make sure that if I eat that one torpedo, I eat it on the belt. No, it ends up being on the stern. That's unfortunate, because that's the one part where the torpedo belt doesn't protect you and you eat full damage. Also, stern hits have a higher chance to break, not just break your rudder, but cause floodings. My Bismarck is now nose in and in serious trouble. I think at this point he realizes, well, that was not the best move he could have made. He's trying to go nose in, but they're just going to focus him down. And what looked like a comfortable win is now quickly going downhill. I'm moving very slow, I'm still trying to ping him, but I don't think he's got any chance. I just give him a well done. He threw away his ship, and this game just got significantly more difficult because my Shikaku has kind of ran away very far, and at this point I'm in a kind of in a 1 versus 3 situation with AP bombers coming in, NC pushing from one side and Arizona from the other. Not to mention that NC is sitting in the cap contesting, so even if I trade my ship evenly, because they have contested our cap, they're stopping our points gain, which means that they still have a good chance of winning. I focus fire my AA while continually keeping myself angled against the NC. I overmatched Arizona armor, so obviously he's the priority target. I finish him off, planes fly into my flank, and I kill them off. We're still down. Once again, that's the problem with them contesting the cap. You see that we're actually still down on points. So just running away is not that much of an option. But I can't turn around fully either, because if I turn around, well, even though Alabama Citadel is waterline, when you turn your ship, you actually elevate one side of the ship, well, and that causes you to raise your Citadel, which is in fact quite risky. And if I make a full turn with NC this close, there's a high chance of being significantly blapped. So I will not be taking that risk, and my plan is to use this island in front of me to turn around as I'm behind the island, because that way I can push in and brawl without risking him getting a free shot at my broadside. Carrier is still harassing me, but he's not paying too much attention to the flak, and he's eating a lot of it. And once again, this thing does throw out about 8 flak, and if you eat all of it, yeah, those planes will be going down. The NC, I kite him out of the circle, this is good. I still have 3 minutes left to get this kill, and I'm preparing to make this turn. In fact, I'm gonna pop the spotter plane to get vision of what he's doing, and if he keeps pushing me like this, I might even slow down here and maybe take a pot shot at him as he sails past. However, that plan kind of evaporates when the torpedo bombers come in, and that means the NC sees what I'm doing. I focus fire the sector, and something very surprising happens. Their Shokaku, so eager to get this kill, so greedy to get this kill and be aggressive, overextends. I think he didn't expect me to slow down here, and he gets himself spotted. My hits on him proc hit hard, which is Halsey's Confederate talent, and that guy is now in serious trouble. I'm slowing down, I'm checking what the NC is doing. He's still pushing around the island, and I make sure that I stay within range. In fact, my speed is... I'm stopping my ship at this point. Taking one shot at the Shokaku broadside, hoping for Citadel so I can delete him. No such luck. 2 shatters, in fact. Building up a bit of speed. I don't want a full stop at this point because I don't want the NC to be able to get a ram on me. A ram would actually be disastrous because then it's all left up to my carrier, and their carrier is closer to our cap. That looks like a good volley. Will it be the devastating or the finishing off? No, still no Citadels, 4 overpens. I'm building up to full speed because the NC is still chasing me, and at this point I know I will be getting this Shokaku kill. In general though, even though killing this Shokaku opens up the option to ram, I never want to go for rams. I think ram is the boring option. It's like, I don't want to trade my ship because I always feel confident that I can outplay the enemy. Of course, the NC has been angling quite well. In fact, he's been showing a fair bit of competence in his angling, but he is pushing me. So at this point I load HE. 406mm HE has a pretty good fire chance, and at this close range I target the superstructure and upper belt, landing 7 shells and starting a fire. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but earlier my secondary started a fire on him and he instantly damage conned it. So I know at this point that this guy's damage con is actually on cooldown. He doesn't have it available. So using HE and fires on him can easily kill him. Next volley I target his nose. You see it's unsaturated, which means it's not darkened, so I know I can do full damage to it, which is exactly what I do. Not to mention the nose is another spot to start fires. That's a double fire on him with no damage con. 19 seconds remaining. I have time for one more volley, but he decides to turn out trying to run. But I'm running Halsey, which means my expert loader switches ammo type in only 5 seconds, and with 6 seconds remaining I get my guns on the target and I pull the trigger. With 2 seconds remaining I finish off the final kill and turn this game into a pretty convincing win. 252,000 damage, Confederate, Kraken, high caliber, all the damage rewards, 30 plane shutdowns, 6 kills, 4 citadels, 3 cap resets, and a couple of secondary hits in there as well. This is without running all the flags, because this was before the change. They added the ability to run all the flags. I played this on the 7th of this month, so about 2 weeks ago. Team score wise, well, it is a pretty convincing score. 3,000 base, 3,100 actually, half the enemy team killed, and 30 planes shot down. This one game was a classic example of not just holding the central position, because it gives you so much fire potential, but also struggling with teammates suiciding. And this is something you see so very often. Even though you tell them to get back, you tell them it's a bad move, people just have this urge to rush in, regardless of the situation. But we were able to recover this one. Detailed report wise, only tanked 63k damage. Fairly safe game, but I never allowed myself to be citadeled, I never allowed myself to be crossfired, I always kept an intelligent position, and at no point during this match did I ever feel like the game was out of my control. There was always options, there was always a way to turn it around. Couple of HE shells, but mostly AP fire, of course, that is your bread and butter. A bit of AA mixed in, some planes, a fair bit of planes actually shot down. A full 20-minute game, but sometimes, especially standard battles, tend to go this far. Let me show you guys my recommended build for the ship. I am running my standard American battleship captain, which I also run on Puerto Rico, Alaska, pretty much all the tanky BBs. Well, BBs or battle cruisers. Right, let's move on to the port. Right, as usual, I'll start with the modules. Consumable wise, premium damage con, premium heal, and premium spotter plane. The reason why you run spotter plane is because the fighter is basically useless, and the spotter plane allows you to shoot into smokes and or islands. It's extremely useful for blind firing. If you don't know what blind firing means, look up my blind firing guide. There are plenty of examples on how to use it, and Alabama and NC are both excellent blind fire ships. Upgrade wise, turret, survival. I'm not sure really how necessary this is, because the turrets are fairly tanky. I think you can easily get away with running auxiliary armaments, but I've gotten so used to running it. Ultimately though, I think auxiliary might be slightly better, because I can't even remember the last time I've lost any of these tanky turrets. Additional tankiness, and here's one of the changes. You can run main battery mod 2. You don't need the extra range. Unlike the Massachusetts, your secondaries are actually complete trash, and the AA Guns mod 1 has been turned into complete trash. So, main battery mod 2 is really the only intelligent choice, and this combined with Halsey's Expert Marksman gives you a pretty incredibly snappy 29.1 second turret traverse. Additional tankiness, aka fire and flooding reduction, and concealment, because you do have a fairly competitive concealment at 12.7. Captain build wise, if you do have Halsey, he is my #1 battleship captain, mostly because he has that oh so juicy hit hard talent, which is when you get the Confederate, you also get 20% faster main battery reload. Incredibly effective. Build wise, we go priority target, adrenaline rush, superintendent, fire prevention. This is the order of priority that you should go for. Concealment expert, expert loader, especially when you're dealing with DDs or just nosing ships. Switching to HE, well, you saw how good expert loader was. It was what gave me that 6th kill on the NC towards the end. Faster turret traverse, it is a enhanced skill, which means it's better than the normal. So especially if you were running Halsey, this one is fantastic. And the last one is a jack of all trade for faster consumable usage, including a damage con. Flag wise, well, the competitive or the combat flags are pretty straightforward. Faster consumable usage. Oh, I wasn't running the speed flag. I should have been running that one. It's very useful. I would say actually priority #1 is India Delta, better healing, and less fires. These two are the bread and butter of battleship flags. Flat speed is nice, faster consumables is nice. AA is pretty good, especially on the Alabama, as it has some pretty decent AA, especially if carriers fly straight into the flank. Shorter flooding is decent, ramming flag is okay, and Juliet Charlie, honestly not that necessary. I just run it because I don't want to detonate when I'm recording footage for commentaries. Besides that, there's not much to talk about. The Alabama is still a very solid ship, and that's mostly because, well, I am biased, I admit that. I love the North Carolina, which means I kind of enjoy the Alabama as well, even if I don't think it's quite as good, because it has less accurate guns, and the one thing I value the highest on any battleship is gun performance. Regardless, thank you guys for watching, thank you for following the channel, and as always, well, remember to take part in the Mainz giveaway. Good chance to win a very good German premium ship. I'll talk to you guys later, I hope you enjoyed it.